Kia ora, good evening and welcome to Central News for Friday the 15th of August 2014. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. In today's news, the iconic Okarori Hot Springs Hotel has been sold to a Chinese buyer. Owner Hugh Rhodes said the long-standing family business consisting of an 1880s vintage hotel which can sleep up to 60 guests and a 9-hole golf course will officially be handed over to Kingston Volcano Springs Limited today. The family business was passed on to Rhodes about 10 years ago, and the sale for $3.3 million began 8 months ago, but needed Overseas Investment Office approval to proceed. Hugh Rhodes said while they've made many changes, the structure of the facility has never changed, and in passing on a piece of family history, he had faith in the new foreign owners. It's understood the new owners plan on turning the hotel into a boutique spa hotel. The controversial $3.3 billion Ruakura development moved one step closer to breaking soil last week after a decision to allow large-scale development on the outskirts of Hamilton. Tainui Group Holdings and Chedworth Property Limited welcomed the draft decision by the ministerially appointed Board of Inquiry to approve the rezoning of land at Ruakura from rural to employment and residential. Mayor of Hamilton, Julie Hardacre, explains what this means for Hamilton.
Yeah, so this is the inland port and the big development over at Ruakura, and this is a fantastic outcome for the city. It's going to generate around about 8,000 jobs when it's finished, and it's a huge development of national significance, really big on logistics, and that's what I think is going to be great for the city's economy.
In sport, and rising Waikato golfer Nick Coxon will represent New Zealand at the Youth Olympic Festival in China this month. Coxon will be the country's men's representative, while Wellington's Julianne Alvarez will play in the women's event. Coxon, from the Riverside Club, is 6th on the New Zealand Golf Order of Merit after a consistent season this year. The Waikato team member has finished in the top 5 of tournaments this year on 7 occasions, including his best showing at the New Zealand Amateur Championship, where he made the semi-final before bowing out to eventual champion Josh Munn. And taking a look at the Rugby ITM Cup, round 1 has kicked off, and this weekend sees Bay of Plenty meeting Southland in Invercargill and Waikato taking on Wellington in the capital. There has been only one case of measles notified to Waikato District Health Board's Population Health in the last week. Medical Officer of Health Dr Anita Bell said Population Health had been notified of 125 confirmed measles cases since the outbreak began in June. Of the 125 cases, only 4 are fully immunised. There have also been 110 cases with a clinical illness and rash like measles. However, they were found not to have the measles. And finally, an additional $2.4 million of remediation work at Kopiopio Canal near Whakatane is to begin this December as part of a new initiative to prioritise clean-ups of the country's contaminated sites. Environment Minister Amy Adams yesterday announced a new initiative to identify and rank priority sites for clean-up under the government's Contaminated Sites Remediation Programme. The canal was contaminated in the 1950s to late 1980s as a result of stormwater from the local sawmill, which treated timber using pentachlorophenol. The PCP contained dioxins as an impurity. Taking a look at the marine forecast now. Raglan, southwest easing on Saturday to 20 knots, becoming a variable of 10 knots later on Sunday. A very rough sea will ease. Heavy southwest swell easing Saturday and high tide 8 minutes to 2 tomorrow morning. Bay of Plenty a southerly of 15 knots easing on Saturday, becoming a variable of 10 knots on Sunday. Very rough sea easing with a high tide 2 minutes past 11 tonight. Still to come on Central News, we find out more about the Tokoroa High School Trust and speak with the photographer of a new pin-up calendar. That's next on Central News. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. The Countdown Kids Appeal was launched in Whakatane today, and with over $7 million raised since 2007, it's a worthy cause. Money raised over the years has gone to 10 children's wards across the country, including Tauranga Hospital. Hilary spoke with the new medical director, paediatrician Dr. Hugh Lees, to find out more about the Countdown Kids appeal.
Can you give us a little bit of history about Countdown Kids?
Well, we've been fortunate to benefit from Countdown Kids for about the last 7 years, and over that time we've had a total of $486,000 donated to our children's wards at Tauranga and Whakatane hospitals, ranging from 65,000 some years to 140,000 other years. It depends a little bit on what we've asked for and also on how much they raise.
How does it work? Do we make donations with our shopping?
Well, when you go through the aisles to pay for your shopping at Countdown, there are little donation boxes that you can put in. There are also there's a raffle that you can participate in, and Countdown staff themselves, I think, are the particular ones who do most of the fundraising through a lot of events that they organise, bike rides, quiz evenings, things like that.
And there's going to be one-off donations to other hospitals this year?
Last year I think Rotorua Hospital benefited from a one-off donation. I'm not sure if they're getting a donation this year or not, but we've been fortunate to be one of the hospitals that have regularly benefited each year for the last 7 years.
What will funds raised this year go towards? What is the Tauranga Hospital Children's Ward in need of?
Well, we of course as staff put together a wish list, and there's a number of items that we've put in that we're hoping to receive money towards. They include things like special monitors that are portable for taking to patients in the community, because we do have nurses that go out into the community. Also monitors in the ward that monitor heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, oxygen levels, which are very helpful for children with heart or respiratory problems when they're acutely unwell. We're also asking for a Megacode kid. So that's a very special mannequin for teaching resuscitation, because obviously when children are very unwell, and especially if they stop breathing or their heart's in trouble, we often have to resuscitate them, and we actually have regular weekly scenarios with our junior staff where we kind of pretend that a child has a particular problem, like an epileptic fit or meningitis, or they've got a heart rhythm abnormality, and then we kind of go through the sequence on the mannequin, and the mannequin has ways that it identifies what particular problems, what heart rate it has and things like that, and then we practice our resuscitation. So when it happens in real life, hopefully we're all prepared and can do our very best.
Everyone can participate by making a donation or engaging in local activities and raffles. To donate, simply visit your local Countdown supermarket and donate at the checkout, or purchase a Countdown Kids Hospital Appeal wristband or a raffle ticket in store. You can also visit countdown.co.nz to make a donation through the online shopping website. Earlier this week, we had Dean and Brian from Tokoroa High School talking about the trust funds set up to help the community progress. Amanda talked with them and asked them how the money will be used.
Now, Brian, you two are both teachers at Tokoroa High, and you're born and bred in Tokoroa. Tell me, what do you love the most about your town?
For me, it's the people. It's the community spirit. It's the givingness. The town is so giving in what it does, and I guess that's one of the ideas behind the trust. Is that's a short-term thing, fundraising to get to this event. Long-term, if we can get this pool of money, that's going to ease the burden on that community. That's it for me. That's just the people.
Yeah. Now, Dean, as a teacher at Tokoroa High, how well is the high school performing on an academic level?
Really, really well, actually, Amanda. In the last 3 years, our NCA results have skyrocketed, to be honest, so much so that we were recently acknowledged in an Education Gazette article on the front page there with a big article about the school. We now more than match schools in New Zealand on a national level with our NCA results, and we're by far, to be honest, the best school in the South Waikato. I feel a bit embarrassed to say that, but the facts are the facts. So the school academically has made enormous progress in the last 3 years. And we see this trust actually as being one of the continuing driving forces heading forward with the academic success.
And what do you think can be attributed to this progress that the high school has made?
It's just been, to be honest, a shift in attitude, and what we've done as a school, and it's not just us, we must make that clear, of course, it's a very, very dedicated staff that we have at our school, and a well supported board of trustees that helps us with everything we want to do. We've just raised expectations, to be honest. For a long time we had accepted that we were a poor town, socioeconomic problems, our kids came from tough backgrounds, and to be honest they do in many cases, but that's not an excuse, it's just a barrier. And we're now in a position where we can, put in place measures that will smash through and jump over those barriers, to be honest.
Excellent. And who's your focus in regards to raising the funding? Who are you looking at to help you out?
Yeah, we've got approximately 17,000 people that have been through our school since 1957 when it first opened. And so we're reaching out now around the world through social media and so on. We've got some incredibly successful people that have come out of the school. Doctors, lawyers, research assistants, people that work for NASA, people that work on Wall Street. And we're reaching out to them and saying, can you help us out? The school's done reasonably well by you. You're now in a position where you can make a real difference for the pupils.
Excellent. And Brian, will the funding support any other members of the community?
Yes, definitely. Not only we're looking at the young people, but also the people that are a bit older that might want to go back and retrain into early childcare, or into any field really. It's about lifting the town and the capability within the town and supporting them.
For more information on how to donate, contact Brian or Dean from the Tokoroa High School or visit tokoroahightrust.org.nz. Coming up next on Central News, Hilary finds out about Asia Pacific Marine Reach. That's next on Central News. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News for your Friday. Marine Reach are a charity of volunteers who travel the Pacific, treating some of the most isolated and needy people in the world. They're currently refitting their ship, Pacific Hope, and Hilary climbed aboard and spoke with Captain Jesse Misa to find out what work is being done and more on Marine Reach.
Hilary Marine Reach is a Christian humanitarian organization. We were founded here in Tauranga in 1990. So since then, 24 years after, we've ministered to over 400,000 people doing medical services in ophthalmology, dentistry, primary health care, and optometry. And also, we've given out over $45 million worth of medical supplies and relief development services out there in the Pacific since that day. But Marine is also composed of people, volunteers who are professionals, medical professionals, and ship personnel, but also men and women who are just ordinary coming on board and helping us to do the job. And so in that regard, every year we have about 700 people come to join us on our tours 5 to 6 months a year in doing those programs out in the Pacific.
And so you are refitting Pacific Hope. What has she had done to her?
Well, since we arrived here in July last year, the refit has not stopped. As our viewers will see, you will see that it's look worse before it's going to get any better. But the thing about it is we have cleared a lot of the living spaces to allow us to prepare for her service for the next 25 years. We're deconstructing a lot of stuff, but also now beginning to reconstruct it back into a place where people can recognize what it is, because before it's just a empty space. But now we're hoping to finish it off around October, November, this part here of the refit. But there are still much more to go. We got phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of this refit. So that's where we're in right now.
So you're in phase 3 right now?
We are in phase 1 right now of the refit.
And medical clinics, you're going to be installing them?
Yeah, we are. Our hope is to have a full-on surgical unit, which is ophthalmic surgery. We'll be giving free cataract surgeries on board. In the last 24 years, as I mentioned before, we have given sight to over 4,000 people now in the Pacific. And in that regard, we are going to construct a full-on state-of-the-art medical unit on board, and also state-of-the-art dental units on board, which will be able to give free extractions and also restorations on board the ship for people who are needing dental care. Primary health care, that's important in the Pacific. We're helping a lot in that. And also we do optometry. We give free eyeglasses to people who have are not able to read. There are children in classrooms today in the Pacific that can't learn because they can't see what's on the blackboard. So with a pair of reading glasses, it changes their lives. And so that's why we're doing this, and that's why we're here.
Something so simple.
So simple and so cheap that we can relieve somebody else's pain and suffering.
And what are some of the kind of touching stories that you've seen in the past?
Well, I came here 24 years ago for 6 months because I've got a job back in my home country. I'm a Filipino by birth, and I came to New Zealand 24 years ago to come here for 6 months. And when I went to the islands, we encountered a lady who was blind for 20 years plus. And she had not seen her family nor her mokopunas, her grandchildren. And after a 20-minute operation, that all changed. The next 24 hours, the bandages were taken off, and she was able to see her family. And it was a touching sight. And I think that what ruined me for the ordinary after that. So I'm now here since then, and we continue on doing this until, we're not needed anymore. But I think it will not stop until that day comes, So.
20 minutes and her life had changed forever.
20 minutes. That's
It's
all it
ridiculous.
takes.
It's ridiculous,
It's
isn't
ridiculous. That's why we go. That's why we go every year. Because people ask me why we're in such a hurry to finish this vessel. Because there are people waiting out there to have their sight back. There are people there are needing pain to be relieved. There are people there that needs an eyeglass. And lastly, there's people out there just needing a touch from Kiwis to reach out to them.
So how can we get involved?
There are many ways to get involved. If you're a professional, like a welder or any trade persons, we need them right now. Like carpentry, as you see in this place, we need carpenters to help us. But most of all, we just need people also to come and see the vessel for themselves, because that's what we do. We network with people, and when they come on board, they know somebody that knows somebody. But also, we'd like to ask the corporates here in Tauranga, businesses, we need their help, even to give us, plywood or steel and things like that we'll be needing to construct the vessel. There are already a lot of people helping us here, but we need more help. Right now, the city of Tauranga is looking at adopting the ship as its humanitarian expression of the Pacific. And we hope that that will come about, and with that, then we will see a bit more collaboration with the city, and then the city can send us out.
If you'd like to help out with Marine Reach in any way, visit their website, marinereach.com. Up next, we speak with the photographer of a pin-up calendar recently released in Hamilton. That's next on Central News. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. A project that began as something to sell at the Classics Museum gift shop in Hamilton has turned into something bigger than anyone could have imagined. The 2015 pin-up calendar, featuring classic cars from Classics Museum and shot in the pin-up style, has seen photographer Tiffany Curtis expand her skills and discover a whole new genre of photography.
There's not a theme itself. The loose theme is vintage and pin-up, but we've themed each of the months differently. So I had Michelle from Debonair Deux help me match each of the girls up with their own theme, and then went from there. We matched them with the car and their hair and makeup and clothing. That sort of put the package together. So we've got themes. There's Halloween, a New Zealand Christmas, Easter with a beautiful girl holding an Easter egg, and I tied them all together with similar lighting. So and have an emphasis on the model and the car having sort of the background just fall behind the two, so the girls really shine.
Who's the calendar going to appeal to?
I think traditionally the pin-up calendar or the pin-up image appeals to males, but we've actually, most of our sales have been to females. But I think now the pin-up style and the vintage and rockabilly sort of theme is quite popular with girls, and because it celebrates a womanly figure and the hair and the makeup of the era, and I think a lot of females are interested in that. And but having the cars in there brings it back to males as well. Of course, females are interested in cars, so there's I think definitely both. And I think the people that come through the museum, I think that's quite an obvious appeals to them, because they're obviously interested in vintage collectibles and the vintage sort of era.
What appeals to you about the style of photography?
Well, it didn't appeal to me initially. Well, I did. I'm originally a wedding and portrait photographer, so this was quite a different project for me. It was different in that usually I use available light, and it's sort of a relaxed shoot where we're trying to get lots of different angles. But for this, you're trying to get one shot, and you're trying to nail that one shot. So you'd take like 100, 200 photos to nail that one shot. So that's how it was different, and I think what appealed to me was the challenge in that, and also it was quite fun. The day was stylists, hair and makeup artists, all the models up there having a glass of champagne and eating nibbles, and so it was just a really fun day for everyone, I think, and it's always good to do something different and challenge yourself.
To purchase the calendar, go to tiffanycurtisphotography.co.nz or visit Classic Museum. You find them at Railside Place in Hamilton. It's time to take a look at the weather for the weekend now. Saturday, Hamilton, you can expect a mainly fine day with dying sou'westerlies keeping things cool. High of 15 degrees with a low of 4 overnight. Around the Waikato, Pairoa, 15 your high and a low of 5. Matamata, 14 with a low of 5. Te Awamutu, expect 15 and a low of 4. And Tokoroa, 13 your high for Saturday with a low of 3. Tauranga, your Saturday is looking gorgeous, mainly fine with dying sou'westerlies and a high of 16 degrees with a low of 5 overnight. Taking a look around the bay, Te Puke, expect a high of 14 degrees with a low of 6. And looking out to Sunday, Hamilton, mostly fine with light winds, maybe the odd shower, a high of 15 degrees with a low of 1. Pāroa, 15 your high and a low of 3. Matamata, 14 and 3 expected overnight. Te Awamutu, high of 15 with a low of 1. And Tokoroa, scraping through to 13 and a low of 0 overnight. Tauranga, your Sunday is looking gorgeous. Fine spells, odd shower, light winds and a high of 15 degrees with a low of 5. And Te Puke, much the same. High of 14 degrees and a low of 5. And that's Central News for today, Friday the 14th of August 2014. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you join us on our Facebook page and let us know of news in your community. Have a fantastic weekend. Hilary joins you next week with more stories from around the Waikato and Bay of Plenty. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Ka kite anō.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.